we get down there to that area, and Roger, of course, told me how to get in there. He'd been in there prior to that. He told some of the people down there, Al Hodson and a few others. And so we went in there and camped, started, and by the time we got there, these footprints around this piece of equipment that was new, fresh dirt, and it were just blobs of mud. I mean, blobs there where it had rained. It had rained hard down the whole west coast, I suppose. And so there wasn't even, as far as I was concerned, an identifiable footprint there. Not one that you could put a cast or some plaster in and get a good cast out of it. So I wasn't still impressed, and up to that time I had never seen a footprint that you could get a cast out of. So, you know, I still wasn't a confirmed believer in everything. We rode those mountains every day with the horses around, you know, just covered a lot of miles. And then I had a truck, a dual-wheel Chevrolet truck that was not four-wheel drive. So it wasn't real easy to get it around. And when they were pushing logging roads in up through there to start logging way up above where we were camped. So I'd take that truck and I'd drive the roads at night, see if we could see any footprints cross, any tracks cross there for footprints. And we seen everything but a Bigfoot track. Deer, cougar, bobcat, and bear. And this went on for quite a few days, and I was getting ready to come back to Yakima. And so Roger said, well, let's go up to that area that really looked like great habitat a couple more times, and then and maybe you just leave me down here and come back and get me in a month. I said, no, if I leave you down here, Roger, you're going to be here. I'm not coming back after you. It's quite a little ways from where I live down where this film footage was taken. So we left out that morning fairly early. Well, I'll go back a little bit. I left out early. I always got up early. Roger didn't. He usually slept in a little more than me, and I'm kind of a farm boy, so I got up about daybreak every day and saddled the horse and I'd ride out. Well, my horse loosened up a shoe, so I rode back in to get the equipment to tighten the shoe back up and get it going. And Roger came in just a little bit later, and he said, "By golly," he said, "Bob Bings, you're going to go in a few days here. Can we go out and stay all night up in the mountains and some of that area where it really looked like great habitat?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I suppose so." So we started out that afternoon. Well, it was early afternoon, probably 12:30, something like that. And took a little horse with us with our sleeping bags and our equipment all on it. Rode up this creek bed about 3.5 miles from where we were camped, and come around a bend by the creek where there was I don't know how many folks here understand when I say downfall tree. There was a tree downfall with the root system up probably 8 to 10, 12 feet high, and that had caused the creek to reroute itself and go around there. And I'm not real good on diagrams like Jeff and some of these other guys are, so I could, no, I'm not comparing myself to Jeff. I would never even try that, let me tell you. Anyway, when we came around that bend in the creek, this creature stood across the creek about as far as that gentleman is right there with paper in his hand. It was standing when I saw it. Now, it may have been stooped down when Roger first saw it, but I was just a horse length or so behind Roger leading the pack horse. And when I saw the creature, it was standing up looking across the creek the way where we were. But it immediately turned and started walking away, just taking natural steps. I mean, natural looking steps to us, which measured out 42 to 48 inches in heel to toe, which is a pretty good step, and there's some pretty tall men here, and I almost dare them to make a step comfortably that long and keep on walking. But anyway, so that's how this film footage kind of got started. Roger, little horse, kind of threw a little, I don't know what kind of dance you'd call it, but he wasn't. Roger was trying to bail off and get his camera at the same time, which he did. Roger was a very agile man. Of course, he was a rodeo cowboy, and he was a great athlete. So he bailed off that little horse with his camera and ran across the creek, trying to get that camera focused on the creature. There was a little incline of sand from alongside the creek on the other side. Well, Roger kind of stumbled and fell when he got on the other side of that. He went down on his elbows, and if you've seen the film footage from the beginning to the end, you'll see that all that shaky part of it at the beginning. You can't hardly identify anything. Anyway, that's what happened, and then Roger realized that the creature was moving on, and all this time I was sitting right where I was. I stopped the pack horse, pulled loose, or I let him go. I don't know. Everything happened so rapidly. I really don't remember whether he pulled loose or I just threw the rope back at him, because I was having a little hard time holding my horse, which was an older horse, was an old roping horse, and he was a little bit easier to handle than Roger's little horse that had a lot of spunk in him. So there's when it all started going kind of wild, and then Roger wanted to relocate because she was moving. I say she because I didn't know whether it was a female or a male or what it was. Didn't make any difference. It was going, And anyway, Roger had to relocate to get a better view, and so he asked me if I would cover him, and he told me later that he was kind of concerned about two more being right close to this one. And it was a wooded area on the fore side, a really wooded area, and you couldn't see up in there, so that's what his concern was. Well, I didn't know that, but he said, "Bob, will you cover me?" Well, I know I had a rifle in the scabbard on my saddle, but I knew I couldn't do it sitting on a horse if anything happened that I needed to do, because I was an avid hunter at that time and shot a lot of big game, and so I knew what I had to do. So I rode across the creek, stepped off the horse with a rifle in my hand, and that's where you see that famous turn like that she turned and looked back at me when I stepped down off that horse. And maybe the misconception was that I intended to shoot this creature. I did not intend to shoot the creature, and I never raised the rifle to my shoulder, ever. I was carrying a 30-06 Remington 30-06 with 180 grain bullets in it. So I felt if I had to, I probably could have stopped this creature if it came back at it. But as long as she kept walking away, I had no reason to even bring the rifle up. And like I said a few seconds ago, everything was happening so rapidly, you just didn't have time to do a lot. And she was walking away all this time, and then Roger hollered at me. He says, "Damn, Bob, I ran out of film." And so I got back up on the horse. I said, "I'm going to follow it." And he said, no, don't do that, Bob." He said, "The other two might be here." So, he was assuming that this creature we were only about 4 miles away from where those footprints were. So Roger was assuming that there would be two more there, and he didn't want to be left there with just a camera in his hand, with no film in it either. So, I mean, now it seems kind of amusing to us, but I don't think it was to Roger, because when I seen the look on his face, he was glad I turned around and came back. And so by then, he got underneath a poncho, and I didn't know much about cameras or anything, got underneath the old poncho that I had on the back of my saddle, and got more film in his camera. And then we pursued to catch up his horse, which ran down the creek a ways in the little pack horse. And then we tried to follow where this creature went. And we got up there quite a little ways, and we only saw one half of a wet print on a rock going across the creek and up the side of the mountain.